Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Alicia Watley.
I'm Mike Broad.
I'm Tim Havler.
And I'm Ruth Gottman, Building Codes Department Manager at PLRB.
Yay!
Hi,
Good to have
Ruth.
you, Ruth.
Ruth's back.
Hi,
Yay!
thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us, and you'll have some fun here. So I get to ask you this question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ruth, what's the scenario?
Okay, so surveillance video shows a woman wearing a salon cape exiting through the front door of a hair salon. So she's carrying her purse and a large handheld mirror. She spends a few moments in front of the salon examining her hair in that mirror, and then she goes to re-enter. At this point, she clears the first step up, but then she stumbles on the second and falls forward through the doorway, landing face down on the salon floor. This is not her first time at the salon, and it wasn't even her first time through the door that day.
Oh, gosh. We've all had embarrassing trip-ups, I'm sure.
Yeah, speaking of which, have you all ever tripped in public?
Yeah.
For sure. And, just like,
let's hear about it.
well, as we all know, Ellen DeGeneres had a great skit on this, and she, anytime you trip in public, you look back to see what was the offending object, because it's not your fault. There's some kind of crack or something. So it can be super embarrassing, but, you can also get really hurt. So I have a story. My mom had this happen to her. She was leaving work. She worked at a school. She's walking out. The sidewalk is uneven. She trips on that. She breaks her arm. She breaks her leg. She can't work. She's in a wheelchair even for several weeks.
Jeez.
And coincidentally, the day after she tripped, the city came and sanded down the uneven pavement. So,
of course they
you know
did.
what happens next.
You sue the city.
Right.
You sue the city, exactly. So, and that's exactly what happened on the insured's property, and now they're being sued. And we actually have a video of this trip and fall. Do you guys want to watch it?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get cringe.
This is of your mother's phone, or?
No, of the scenario we're talking about.
Yeah, I would like to watch. I don't want to watch a poor mom break her arm, but
Yeah,
I'll watch this one, sure.
Yes, a stranger, fall away.
Right. Yeah, we can watch a stranger fall anytime.
Okay, we're ready.
So she's outside. She's checking
the lady in the
herself
back.
out.
Yeah, she stepped outside
She's
to get
out,
the natural lighting. Tim, don't you know anything?
She's got the gigantic mirror. She's checking out her hairdo that just got done. And she's just about to make her way back inside.
Oh, I think she did that on purpose.
Yeah, okay, with a mirror at that.
Right.
See, all this just so we can get the natural lighting to see if the color was right.
Or get a free hairstyle because you claim you tripped and now I don't want to pay. See? That's my angle.
Just because you get your hair cut at a mall doesn't mean you have to get anything.
There aren't malls anymore. But
I don't know.
True. Well, that's embarrassing.
Free hair services for life sounds good to me, so I don't know.
Yeah,
all right, so that was kind of gnarly. It was.
That was a word that's used back in the days of hanging out at the malls. Gnarly. Haven't heard that in a while.
Wait, did I just show my age? All right, so I'm going to ask a question. So it looked like she went outside. What kind of steps are those? Because, I'm...
Okay.
As someone with giant-sized feet, I'm always cautious about the types of stairs I'm on.
Okay, so it was actually only, one step up, and then the next step was actually just the floor of the salon. So that first step up is like 6 inches. The second one's 5 inches. And then, as you said, big feet. The depth of the tread was 14 inches deep. And then again, as long as that door is open to the salon, the next step up is just the floor of the salon. So really only one step. You couldn't maybe see in the video. I don't know if you guys could see. There's no handrails though either. So one step up, another step into the level, and no handrails. So, and that appears to be the main entrance to the salon.
Okay. So were there code provisions here Ruth, that would apply?
All
Did you
right.
need a hand railing or what? What's going on with these
Yeah.
steps?
Okay, so anytime you trip, just like we discussed, when you trip, it's not your fault, right? So
Exactly.
it's the stairs. The stairs made her fall. That's always the problem. So let's look at what code says about the stairs. So one of the things that you'll look at is riser height. And so what code says is that it can be between 4 and 7 inches tall. So what I said was the first step was 6 inches, the second step was 5 inches. So sounds like they're compliant there, right? It's
We're
between
good.
that 4 and 7 inches, both of them. So that one's good. The other question Alicia said about her big feet is the tread depth. How deep was that stair? And in this case, it was 14 inches. And what code says is that tread depth must be a minimum of 11 inches. So tread depth sounds good also. Another thing that the code says about stairs is that they have to be uniform. So dimensional uniformity, they call it.
Aha.
So both the
Aha.
treads, aha, yes.
We
So
might have
the
something
treads
here.
and the risers exactly have to be uniform. And what code says is they have to be uniform within 3/8 of an inch. And so I'm no mathematician, but 5 inches and 6 inches sounds like it's more than 3/8 of an inch difference.
A little bit, yeah, just a
I'll
So,
little.
give that one to you. Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I'm pretty sure an inch is above 3/8. So then right there, not code compliant. That's more than the 3/8. The other thing, as we noted, is there were no handrails. So what does code say? This is the 2018 IBC building code it applied here, and in that version, it says handrails are required on both sides. There's some exceptions for where they may not be needed, but generally you need a handrail on both sides, and the height has to be between 34 and 38 inches, and the handrails must be graspable. And then there's just additional requirements that could apply. They can be really specific, but it sounds like no, they were not compliant on the handrail situation.
Uh-huh. So now, big time lawsuit.
She's
Oh, all
gonna,
right.
yeah, she's gonna own that salon in just a little bit. Okay.
Right. I know on the last one we were talking about, where Tim was going through some code stuff with that cool deck, it looked like the building code, sometimes things don't apply to like older construction until you have to upgrade something. So this place looked pretty old, Ruth. So did you have to have all that stuff
Right.
going on there?
Right. So, yeah, not necessarily. As Tim mentioned, it's called grandfathering, or a newer term is legacy code exceptions. So these
Oh, I didn't know
exceptions
that.
apply. Yeah, if you look up grandfathering, there's a little bit of a not great history to that term.
Oh,
So
really?
the new term is legacy code exceptions. So
we should we
you
need
can
to
try
do
to
a
use that
podcast
going forward.
on why it's not grandfathering anymore.
It's a long, dark history of our country.
I
Oh,
bet.
geez.
So look that one up. So anyway, the legacy code exceptions, it says that existing buildings can be exempted in general. Um, so unless there's some sort of triggering event. So every time codes get updated, you don't have to necessarily update the building. A
Right.
triggering event could be remodeling, or if there's a change in occupancy. There's different reasons that the new ones would be triggered. So they may or may not in this case. If nobody's touched those stairs, since it was built, and as long as it was built to code originally, and nothing has been done to make them unsafe. So maybe you can argue they've deteriorated or something else has made them unsafe. That is possible. But generally, you don't have to upgrade as the codes upgrade.
Well, clearly it wasn't safe because the poor lady tripped.
Hmm. And no offense, I'm looking at the photo of the entrance. I'm like, where do you put handrails?
Right. No offense taken, Alicia. Good question.
Yeah, I mean, that can be an issue. Sometimes you are exempt because it's just not possible. So, again, if it was built to code originally, now there's this code that handrails, are necessary. It may not be physically possible to add handrails, and that's why they haven't had them.
There are cute little planter boxes next to them, though.
But with the door, going out, you could probably do it on one side, but not the other. You don't think
True.
you need sliding doors.
Plus, she only had one hand free. The other one
Exactly.
was
Had
on
the
that
mirror.
mirror.
And she probably
So,
broke the mirror and now has 7 years of bad luck too.
Ooh,
Poor
good
dear.
point.
ooh,
So what about this one, Ruth? Now, we just said that there were two things that weren't up to code, we think. So does that
right?
make the landowner there, the salon owner, negligent in this case?
Yeah, so let's just assume that they were not up to code, that something triggered, they should have been brought up to, modern standards. Is that negligence per se? So it really depends on what state you're in, just like a lot of uh, legal duty terms. There's, what do the courts call it? Negligence per se, meaning you don't need any other proof, or is it presumption of negligence, or is it, a mere evidence of negligence? That depends on the state and how they've ruled in the past. So, for example, in Iowa, courts find that violation of building code is negligence per se. So case closed. Whereas in Maine, a violation of a safety statute like building codes, it's not necessarily negligence per se, but it can be used as evidence of negligence. So it really depends on where this took place.
And this is where I put my old adjuster's hat on, Ruth, because we used to deal with this all the time on casualty claims. And even if it is negligence per se, sometimes that's to the population at large, like everybody out there, and not to this individual person. So it's kind of a promise to the public in general that these things will be up to code. Not this lady who wasn't paying attention to anything other than her hair and fell. So
I bet her hair
might be
looked
good to
good though.
consult with your attorney like Tim. Tim's a property attorney, so he's saying, I know nothing about this weird casualty stuff, but you can always reach out to your defense coverage
What I know
defense
is that
counsel.
whoever is the plaintiff's attorney in this case
Uh-huh.
is not going to want Mike on the jury.
I won't be on the jury because they'll ask, what do you do for a living? And I'm out. So, yes.
Awesome. All right, so we talked about this case, about this issue. Ruth, what are your takeaways?
Okay, well, besides the fact that falling in public is embarrassing and it can be painful, one is, by current standards, these stairs were not code compliant. The other thing is, but they were not necessarily required to be code compliant to current standards. So through these legacy code exceptions, it could have been built to code a long time ago and nothing triggered the requirement to be brought up to current standards.
Until now.
And yeah, so
Field
then,
trip.
and yeah, maybe now they will. Now that they're maybe deemed unsafe, that could very well happen. And then legally, just because they are not up to code, they may or may not be negligent, and that can vary from state to state.
Mike,
Yes.
you know the drill. Where can an adjuster go to learn more?
Well, Tim, you know the answer, so why do you keep asking week after week? Hey, I joke. But of course, you want to head out to plrb.org. And here you can get to our friends like Ruth at the building codes section. So if you click on the building codes tabs or the, what do we call them, the little things at the bottom, the hubs, if you
The
go check
hub.
out building codes, yeah, there's all sorts of cool stuff here that help not only property reps that are out there figuring out that something is up to code that a contractor is asking about, but we also, on the buildings codes team, they help out the liability adjusters with cool things just like this. So you could look at what are the riser regulations and requirements for that, or handrails, all everything that Ruth just went through, you can find at the building codes section of plrb.org. So check it out. And you can also ask a question. So folks like Ruth, her team will absolutely dig into your question. You can ask them, they'll research it, get back to you, just like Tim does on the coverage, legal coverage side. So check out building codes, ask a question, do your own research. Come on, it doesn't get any better than that. And Alicia, can other than my mad rambling there, can you put this stuff in the show notes?
Yes, we can put everything but that last part. Yes, we can put that in the show notes.
Excellent.
Also, in the show notes, you can find a recap of the key points from today's episode. You can find links to our social media. You can find information on how to submit your own adjuster story. And you can also listen to our podcast on YouTube. So in case you're ever curious to
Yee.
see what these voices, the faces behind the voices, check us out on YouTube. Be nice. And don't forget to subscribe and rate us. We want to see, 5 stars, thumbs up,
Right.
all of it. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its membership, or any organization with which the presenter is employed or affiliated. The information, ideas, and opinions are presented as information only and not as legal advice or offers of representation. Individual policy language and state laws vary, and listeners should rely on guidance from their companies and counsel as appropriate.